kind of all over. Kind of give a couple minutes. So as you saw, I've kind of got one of our, well, I've got my service dog, as well as I've got one of our other little bundles of joy that we have at the house. She decided she wanted to go on a ride with Daddy. So Daddy's gonna go get something to eat, and while I'm doing it, figured I would jump on here since it's been a week. Look at that. Hey, brother Jack, how you doing? So I figured I'd get on here and make another video. I wanted to for a little while now. I think it's been almost a week since I made a video, and I've been wanting to make another one. But when I saw that it looked like Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, or however you say his name, was out, and the new government coming in, I kind of wanted to see how that was going to play off. And then, well, it seemed like all hell broke loose, and more of hell came on the planet. But yeah, what to cover first? And there's so much going on, you don't even know what to talk about. I refer back to, the picture I mentioned before of the lady looking out and trying to see what chapter of Revelation we're doing today. At this point, it's like, what chapters of Revelation are we doing today? It almost seems like. But, so first off, I know a lot of people are talking about, Israel and with Benjamin Netanyahu on his way out, and he's part of the party, whatever they're called, and they're more right-leaning. And it looks like the most unlikely event, the one thing they said would never happen and Israel would have to go to another election, has now seemed to happen. And a bunch of other parties have formed together to force Netanyahu out. It's not really that they like each other or want to work together. Their only binding thing is to get Benjamin Netanyahu out of office. And it's kind of interesting because I made a comment to Brother Pete on the same day, just hours before Amir Sarfati made the exact same comment. It seemed to me that the last two countries in the entire world that were that country first and had a right-leaning government was the U.S. and Israel. Those were the last two. I can't think of one other country in the world that doesn't have a left-leaning government right now. U.S. and Israel seem to be the last two countries standing, and we all saw what happened, with our election. I'm not going to get into that because I don't feel like getting censored or have this video deleted. But there's enough that I think you've really got to have your head in the sand or be really out of touch with reality at this point to not really know what really happened. So anyways, now we've got a left-leaning government. Israel then was the last ones to hold, and as it seems, as of right now, and has been for the last few days, I was hoping and praying that, I'm sorry, see, this is my other buddy. I was really hoping that, sorry, try and drive and not get into an accident. As I was saying, I was really hoping that this coalition of parties would fall apart and would force another re-election, but so far it hasn't. Now, doesn't mean it won't happen. They could still fall apart before they get sworn in, but at this point, I'm thinking they're probably going to get sworn in And that means the last country that I know of any amount of significance in the world that had a right-leaning government is now got a left-leaning government. And I personally, I don't see God very happy about that at all. Especially when one of the parties of the coalition has association to the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, and that's one of the parties that are going to be a majority, helping to rule or govern, I should say, Israel. And then one of the leaders is also, openly gay, which, I'm not going to get into the whole, I'm not going to get into that chapter. That's just a whole discussion by itself. But I will say I do not see God being very happy that such a person would be governing his chosen country. Is the final straw to break the camel's back, so to speak, to push this government or push God to, let me back up. Is that the last straw that's going to push God to push over the first domino and take us home, which is then going to just lead to, a bunch of other dominoes falling? Left-leaning government leading Israel. That really cannot make God very happy. It's interesting that we've got the solar eclipse coming up in 2 days. We had that lunar eclipse, and I mentioned, I have a feeling that's significant and is signaling something. What? I have no idea. A lot of times I don't know what these feelings I get really are until after things happen, but sure enough, shortly after, the last country of significance that was at a right-leaning government came out and said that they had formed a coalition of left-leaning. I just find it interesting. And now we got the solar eclipse. Solar eclipse have never, if used as signs from God, they've never, really been used as a positive notification. So I'm really curious as to see, what's going to happen in regards with this solar eclipse. Yeah, I know I'll get into this. There's a lot of watchers. I like how somebody put, that, we don't like setting dates. I don't consider myself one of the watchmen or watchwomen. My channel is, whatever it is. But I know a lot of them have come out and because they've been getting hammered about setting dates. And they're like, listen, guys, we're not setting dates because we can't set dates because we don't know when it's going to happen. But, as they pointed out, we like watching certain dates and watching more intensely at certain dates due to, the significance of it on, this calendar or that calendar, or, what all different events God had happen on certain days, and why it could mean it could be the rapture. And I know on the Enoch calendar, which I'll go ahead and say, once we passed May and nothing happened, we entered June, I got this feeling about the 8th of June. And I still have a feeling of 8th of June. I have no idea what it's in reference to, and I don't know what it means. I just know something significant. Whether we understand it or we know it, I don't know. I just, for some reason, 8th of June has always stood out to me. And I learned today that on the Enoch calendar, tomorrow, 8th of June, would be the last day of the flood, as well as the day that Jesus ascended into heaven. Now, what calendar God uses, I think he uses his own calendar at this point, Um, sorry. Um, but I do find that very interesting. Um, you know, and then it's 2 days before the solar eclipse. Does that mean there's a lot of watchmen and watchwomen that are saying, hey, the 8th, because of that, the 8th of June is in a high watch time, as well as the 10th of June, because of the solar eclipse, is a high watch time. I agree with them. I think it is, high watch times. Does that mean it could happen? No. We could wake up on the 9th and still be here. And guess what? We could very easily wake up on the 11th and still be here. Um, but I know I find joy in looking at these times and not setting dates, but looking at dates and finding joy in just watching, watching and waiting for Jesus to come, knowing despite all the chaos that's going on in the world, and let me tell you, it's just getting ridiculous. You got people getting beat up at gas stations for no apparent reason. You got people throwing glasses of beer at. All right, sorry about that. It seems I had some issues. You know, I'll be honest. I'm one of those that I will go ahead as I'm driving and I will stream um, whatever on my phone for background noise, and I never have issues. Whether it's streaming videos or whatever, and I'll be in the truck in the middle of the day and never have issues. And as soon as I start doing these videos, all of a sudden my phone overheats. Go figure, right? So sorry about that, and I will hold it and hopefully keep from things overheating. But as I was, let's see, where was I? Oh, so I was going into, we've got people get beat up at gas stations. You got people throw in, glasses of beer at soccer teams. You got drive-by shootings at birthday parties and graduations. It's retarded, pointless road rage resulting in deaths, especially little kids, it seems. Cops being called just to be ambushed. I mean, it is getting ridiculous with all the stuff that is going on around the world. And those are actually what I listed is just in our country alone. That's not even talking about the stuff that's going on all over the world. It's just so much going on that you can't even begin to just talk about each individual thing because there's just too much. But at the same time, you're seeing, where God said, hey, in the end times, lawlessness is going to rise, and that's what we're seeing. You're seeing defund police, and then the people that are actually doing it. I mean, it doesn't take Einstein to figure out, hey, if you defund and take away police, it's going to cause crime to rise. It really doesn't take Einstein, but they're still doing it. Also, that came out today, there's 21 10-story statues which are made out of LED screens so they can be made to resemble anybody. The heads and arms can move, and it can be made to talk. And stuff like that makes you wonder, is that, the statue, mentioned in Revelation of, what the I will say the leader is going to use and use and insist on being worshipped. And that's coming out. 21 of them are coming out into 21 different cities across the world. I mean, a year ago, none of us would have ever imagined this stuff happening, but here we are. It is happening. and you pretty much got an entire world who's with governments that are all left-leaning and embracing this globalist agenda. You know, hey, let's all become one and sing Kumbaya. Oh yeah, yeah, that's gonna work out great. Um, you know, it just really, it makes you wonder just how much more time that we have. I know I was kind of venting to, Brother Pete the other days, where I personally am just feeling the overwhelmingness, I'll say, of what seems like the enemy winning. And as a Christian, I find it hard sometimes to pray, because at this point, the only thing that we have left to do is just pray that God's will be done. But God's will means that temporarily, it seems the enemy's going to be winning. And we understand that that's got to happen. God said it was going to happen, and everything else like that. But still, as a Christian, to be seeing it, and I don't know, I'm one of those, I feel it. It's very frustrating, and it's hard to do, because I really hate seeing the enemy win. But that's what we're seeing. But at the end of the day, it's one of these things that we just have to remind ourselves and encourage each other that, hey, God sees things we can't. He has an understanding we can't even fathom, and we can't even begin to see all the stuff that He can, or see how all the pieces are going to fit together. But He does, and that's where we need to stay secure in that. All right, the enemy would love nothing than for us Christians to just get frustrated with what's going on, get withdrawn, lose hope, lose our joy in watching for the rapture, waiting for the rapture. You'd love nothing more than that. But that's where we have to go ahead. We have to remember God is completely 100% in control, and even when it seems like the enemy might be winning, He's not. Because as Brother Jack just said, we have the last laugh. Yes, God has the last laugh. He has the winning blow. He ends up victorious, and that's what we have to remember. And then, as long as we keep our eyes focused on Him, and we keep reminding ourselves that, um, yes, temporarily the enemy does seem to win, but God ultimately wins, then we have that joy back. And the more messed up things get, just remember, we're that much closer to being taken home. I don't know how much time we have left. To me, I don't see us being here much longer. I really don't see God being very happy of a left-leaning government looking at being sworn in and governing His chosen country and His chosen people. A part of me is like, I don't see God letting that happen. And definitely one way to keep that from happening would be creating chaos in the entire world by rapturing out the church, which I would think then the governing body would stay in place. And then, of course, then the rise of, the AC, and then Israel, going into cahoots with Him, bringing in peace, so forth and so on. Part of me is like, well, that's very, very plausible. But we don't understand God's plan. But anyways, those are my thoughts on, everything. It's getting crazy, and stuff we never imagined, we're seeing come to pass. They're not even hiding it anymore. You got that UFO report. I'm really interested to see what, what's the take on that going to be. But, the enemy's got to have a way to explain why millions and millions and millions of people just disappeared. So, in the meantime, we will keep watching. We will keep waiting. I definitely want to know what happens tomorrow. Like I said, I've had a feeling for a while that, something significant is going. I will see you on the next video.